and welcome to this week's episode of Maga Woman TV. And I am so excited to be able to introduce to you to Angela Raspass. So easy, two Angelas on this call today, so we shouldn't be able to have any problems with names. But Angela has a business. She's actually had several businesses, and you're going to talk to us about some of them, I'm sure. But your next chapter. So Angela works with women who are ready to step into their next chapter, and particularly, women like us, Maga women, who are not sure what we want to do, but we want to know, we want to make a difference. And Angela actually helps women do that because her whole background has been in marketing and being able to really get into what's going on and how you can build a business. And I know for many women, as they get to this stage of life, they're thinking, well, maybe a business is for me. So that's why I thought I'd get Angela on the call, because she does this so well that she just knows how to do it. She can just get into your head. And she also has her own podcast where she speaks to so many women who have gone into their next chapters, and sometimes it's their third and their fourth chapters, because it's not just their second chapter. So she knows it all. Well, just about all.
Big call.
We're expecting a lot here, Angela.
Okay, I got my notes. I'm ready.
So tell us about women when they're, stepping into the next chapter. What is it that do you think quite often is the trigger? Are there commonalities in women when they're kind of discovering themselves and they want to step out there and do something different, and whether it's leave a legacy or just follow their passion? Is there some commonalities? Talk to us about it.
Oh, absolutely. And first of all, thank you for inviting me on to have this conversation, because the more of these conversations we have about women expanding and doing the things that are calling them and are not being unusual to follow those passions, then the more it's going to happen. Next chapters, and you're absolutely right when you were describing that, there's not just one or two, there's many, because we are evolving all the time. And that's why I particularly resonate with your concept of the Maga woman, because I've just turned 49, and I feel if I compare my life now to, say, even one generation ago with my mum, it's changed
so
entirely, completely different. And it's a great thing. I mean, I love the fact that this evolution is happening, because I've got a daughter, and I think about, what's going to be possible for her as she goes through. And there's just so many options now that I believe that are available to us. And a lot of us do decide to express that in a business, because one of the things that I see really hits us at this sort of mid-40s sort of age, if you've had kids, your world starts to open up a little more. I mean, my teenagers, one's gone off to uni, one's still here, they still very much need me, but it's a different need. It's more cerebral in terms of, being
yes.
there for support and values, and much more so than, say, when they were babies and toddlers, which was so time rich.
Full on, yes.
Absolutely full on. So the world starts to open up a little bit more. You've had several evolutions in your character anyhow, as you've begun to realize perhaps some of the beliefs and the way you looked at the world that you were given when you were younger. You've challenged those. You've had experiences. You've fallen over. You've got back up. Very few of us get to this age without having some pretty serious shit. Can I be so
right.
And
if you've been under a rock.
Exactly. It's unusual. It's hard to get to this stage of life and not have a few scars.
Something's happened.
But that's the beauty, though. I often say that a next chapter business is built on skinned knees. So it's our own experiences. We've been walking down the road and we've fallen in the potholes, and we've worked out not only how to get out of the pothole, but often how to not fall in the first place, how to navigate our way around it. And so our experiences can shorten and sweeten the journey for others. So a next chapter business is really at the core of it is a desire to do the things that call you. At the core of it is a desire for contribution and fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And at the core of it is the desire for our own rich rewards. Now, fulfillment can, it's the feel-good factor, but you also, as a business owner, deserve to be well compensated for what it is that you do. So we need to have conversations about our own finances and how our businesses can support us financially as well. But most of my women that I work with, we're not looking to take on the world. We don't want a multiple six-figure online business, usually. If you do, fantastic, then that can happen. But most of us use the internet as a tool for, say, our websites and branding and for connection, but not necessarily delivery, because the face-to-face connection, even like this, the Zoom connection, is so important. Nothing beats face-to-face. This is the next best thing. My people and myself don't tend to focus on just generic online programs, because we need connection. We need to bond. We need to discuss.
Totally. And that's what Maga women need. They're craving that, because I think we've so many years, we've lost the village, and as we're coming into this stage of life, you know, we're really craving it. I mean, we really needed it when we had young children, but we kind of coped. We kind of just got through because there was no other option. And you just kind of kept going and kept going. But I think now, as you say, we have more space, but this is when we crave that connection, and we now have the time to go and look for it, where we didn't have the time before because we're too busy.
No.
We're living, busy being in life, but now we've got a little bit more time, so we're out there and we are searching for it.
That's a really key point, the searching, the looking, the exploring. Different things tend to call us. And I find spirituality is a big one that kicks in as well, like wanting to connect to something bigger than ourselves. The way I often describe it is that with our lives, but also the type of world that we're in now, with the speed that it moves at and the information that was thrown at us all the time, we're almost like jet ski riders, like zooming across the surface. And what we crave, well, I know I can only speak for myself and the women that I'm most familiar with, but we crave to be a scuba diver. You know, we want to dive down deep.
Yeah,
and have those real conversations and that intimacy and those real connections. And that's what I am just delighted about, that I have. Look, my life is still busy, don't get me wrong. We've all got responsibilities, but I can make choices that serve me. I can follow that, you know, that curiosity, and I can start diving in. And that's where, you know, I can look at, oh my goodness, if I think back to my 25-year-old self compared to my 49-year-old self, I mean, it just blows your mind how much your perspective changes. That's, you know, the wisdom and the insight that can only come from experience. So I believe that Next Chapter women, Maga women, have so much to contribute. And we owe it to ourselves to not, I've heard the expression, you know, don't die with the music still inside. I don't want to be dramatic. We're not going to keel over tomorrow. But if you've got that pull, that desire, you've got to explore it. You've got to explore it.
And do you think, what about women who are a little bit scared? They're not, because they've lived their life and they know that they want something different, but there's a little bit of fear going on there about what they're going to step into, you know, just the diving deep. They kind of just stick their head under and pull back out and then a little bit further. Do you experience that? Do you see that there is a little bit of fear there to start with?
Absolutely. There is no doubt that fear and worry and a lack of self-belief is common across the board. It doesn't matter whether you are brand new, you know, you're considering your next chapter, or if you've been 10 years in business. I've been self-employed since 2003. Okay? And I battle with self-belief and doubt, you know, on a regular basis. But here's the difference. Okay. I think that we believe that we need to feel confident before we act. We need to have all our ducks in a row before we actually go out into the world. And that's just not true. I did some brilliant training through Russ Harris, acceptance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I love him. Acceptance and commitment therapy and training. And what the biggest thing that I took away from the work with Russ, and I've actually done a podcast interview with him as well.
Yes, and it was very good. I listened to it.
It's so good to interview. But thank you. Well, what he teaches us is that the actions of confidence come first and the feelings of confidence come afterwards. So if we wait until we've got like, hallelujah, I'm ready to rock and roll, it's never going to come. So we have to take the baby steps. One of the biggest things is, I think it's a good idea to have big goals, okay, a big vision that inspires and pulls you forward. But you have to break that down into bite-sized pieces, because every little baby step or turtle step, as Martha Beck says, that you successfully complete, it adds to what I call your future fuel. So you're responding to yourself, you're reassuring yourself, you're demonstrating to yourself that you can make things happen. And as you take a small step and you get a bit more confident, then you take another one and a bit more confident. And before you know it, literally, you're creating and developing things and achieving things that you previously didn't think possible. But so there's the self-belief piece, and there's so much more that I could talk for days about that. But then there's the other piece as well, which I think is vital, which is community. Because a lot of us are going this alone, especially if you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner or a solopreneur, whatever the case is. We are often just like I am here. I'm at home in my little office. Well, actually, I'm in my kitchen right now, but I work alone until I'm connected with my community. So I'm in a mastermind. I host and facilitate masterminds where you bring groups of women together who are on the same path.
Now, you only do small groups too, don't you?
I just whacked my ear, sorry.
Yeah, so you do very small, intimate groups, because I think that's because I think that's something that Maga women want as well, is this, it's the intimacy as opposed to being in some of these groups which have got, you go and sit in a room with 100 other people. It's like, it just kind of, for me, I know that if I walk into a room that's got 100 people in it, I kind of go, oh my God, this is just too overwhelming, and I walk out. But put me in a small group and because I can connect at that level. I can't connect with 100 people in the room.
Well, it's very difficult to connect. You can go to an event, and I love going to events where I can go in there with an objective and I can listen and I can take out a couple of bits and I can implement. But I'm not, and I may meet some people do that in networking, but there's a difference between networking and connecting.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. So yes, I do masterminds and retreats. It's the other thing I do as my main business model, is that my masterminds typically have no more than 5 people in them. Because you need to be heard, and I think your voice gets lost, as you're saying, in a crowd. And you need, like the women that I'm with, is that we're together over a 10-month period, so you really get to understand each other. But even if you're not, you're not ready to invest in a paid mastermind that's facilitated by someone like myself, who has a lot of experience with them, you can create your own circle of support.
Yeah, which is what we do with the Maga Woman Circle. So we have the free online, same thing, small group of women. We come together, we support each other.
Yes, and that is vital, because so often you can't see the spot that you're standing on, and you find sometimes you're feeling terminally unique, like no, everyone else can do this. What's wrong with me? Yeah, and you can get into the comparison game. If you get into comparison where you're comparing your insides with other people's outsides, and you will never measure up if you do that. So it's really important to work on those other pieces so that you can take the steps and get the confidence flowing in from there.
So success is, do you think success is different when we're in this next chapter to what it was when we were younger? Do you think that there's a development of what success is really all about?
Yes, absolutely. I think we get a lot more, we get realistic. Now I'm an optimist by nature. That's the way I roll in the world. But I've also got a heavy dash of realism in there, and understanding that success doesn't come overnight, that it's a gradual, as we said, evolution. And so I value different things now. Now, don't get me wrong. I love money because it opens doors. It allows me to do things. It allows me to make an impact. I contribute to charities. We travel, that sort of stuff. So that's a part of it. Being well rewarded is a part of it. But these other things that I value that need to be built into my business model now for me to feel successful. And this is about defining it on your own terms. Again, I mentioned at the beginning that most of the women that I'm working with, we don't want to take over the world, just our little portion of it. We don't want to get burnt out. A lot of us have looked burnout right in the eye, and we're not going there again. A lot of us consider this to be a lifestyle business because we want a business that complements our life. It doesn't commandeer it. Doesn't, I don't want to stress out like I burnt out in the old days when I thought success looked a certain way. I know how I want it to look, and I've designed very specifically a business model that allows me to do the things that I want to do. It's taken a while. Again, I had to learn big lessons on the way.
We all learn, don't we?
We do. And so now, my business, I go to the gym, I go to yoga, I have time to connect with people, other things. My week is not jam-packed with mania like it used to be. And that's important to help people understand how they can create a business model that complements, doesn't commandeer, and it's very personal. And that last piece is that fulfillment and contribution piece. That's huge. We got to feel like what we do matters. Okay. We've got to feel like, I know I can feel like even after I ran a retreat a week ago for some of my mastermind girls, and the feeling afterwards of that fulfillment and delight because of what they'd experienced, that's the feeling I want to bottle and give to other women so that they can feel the same when they're doing, when they're living out contributions through their business. It's very exciting.
Now, you have something, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but you have a folder where, or you have something where you actually, you know what I'm talking about, where you actually put all your achievements in it and things that you can look back at when times are going tough and you say, hey, I actually did that. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. Oh, totally. That's one of my favorite things. It's a tool that you can go and you can enact this right away. As soon as you watch this video, you can go and create it. It's called a fabulous file.
That's
and
it.
It's got evidence of your fabulosity. Okay. So you can do this digitally, but I prefer, like, I've literally got a big box that I bought from, one of the $2 shops. It's got covered in beautiful feathers, and in there goes, yes, feedback and testimonials from clients, absolutely. But there's also cards from my kids, telling me that, hey, mum, you're doing a great job. There's letters and cards from my husband. There's photos of when we've been on holidays. There's copies of like awards that I've achieved, PR coverage that I've had, personal milestones that, the rest of the world doesn't know about, but they're important to me. They're all in the fabulous file. Screenshots of feedback on social media. So your fabulous file, you use it in a few different ways, but we all get the wobbles. We all have crap days where we think, why am I doing this? What's the point? I might as well go down to the garden and eat worms. So you need to go and roll around in your fabulous file for a while. Put on some nice music, sit in the sun, actually go through and immerse yourself. Because we so often, we forget to reverse gap. We look forward and we go, there's my goals. That's what I've got to achieve. There's so much more to do. But we forget to turn around and see how far we've come. And that's what a fabulous file does. It reminds you of the progress that you've made and allows you to anchor yourself in that. And that's, again, where you get that future fuel, much like the baby steps. You remind yourself, I can do this. Yeah, okay, it's not happening overnight, but this is important. Look at the impacts that I'm having. I'm going to keep moving forward. So yes, I prescribe a fabulous file for every Maga woman, because we've got a lot to put in those files.
I mean, when our kids were younger, we took photos of them all the time. And then over time, we slowed down on our photos, and we also noticed that we stepped out of the photos. It's one thing that you find there's lots of women that got photos of everything that's happening in their life, but they're not in them. Yeah, that's right. And I've got another friend who's a photographer, another Angela, we know, and that's her big thing is like, we've got to get women back into their photos. So that's why I love what you're talking about. It's like, let's start collecting this stuff again. We did it when our kids were younger and we were celebrating their milestones. Now we need to celebrate what we've created. You get to the age of, 50, you've got 50 years of stuff that you have done, because the world would have been a different place if you weren't in it. And that's one of the things that I always, whenever I speak, and when it's in my book, it's like, the world would be a different place if you weren't in it. If you just disappeared today, everything would be different. So we all make a difference just by being who we are. The fact that we're here, you're a mother, you're a partner, you're a sister, you're a daughter, whatever, if you weren't there, the world would look different. And we need to celebrate that. It's like, and that's why I love your fabulous file, because I think it's just, it's just a way of, celebration. And we need to celebrate more of who we are.
We do, absolutely. And that's where the community piece is important as well. One of the women that's in the mastermind that I'm in, she talks about this particular book. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but it was how to toot your horn without blowing your trumpet, which basically means you've got to learn how to speak about and celebrate what it is that you have done, what you are achieving, what you are creating, and not be hesitant about that. We're not becoming braggarts. Like there's a continuum with every behavior. There's a continuum. So you're not going to be right down this end and basically, just telling everyone that you're awesome, but you're not going to be down the other end of the scale as well and not telling anybody anything. So being in the middle there, where you are proud to share what you're doing, because here's the thing, sharing stories about what you're achieving, what you're experiencing, what's challenging you, how you're getting through and around and over it, that inspires somebody else. And I believe it's our responsibility to talk about it, because I think one of the challenges is that, especially if you're going to move into a business. As I was saying before, we see so much online, so much of the pretty stories, the success stories about the seemingly overnight success, and they're not true stories. So it's our responsibility, especially as Maga women, to each other, as we're moving into these next chapters, to tell the true stories, how it really is, to encourage and to inspire. And that's what I am utterly committed to. I'm a marketer. I'm all about helping women deconstruct and reconstruct their businesses in a way that aligns with them. I'll teach them marketing and sales and models and all sorts of stuff. But none of that matters if you haven't got the confidence and don't believe in what you're doing, and if you haven't got the community where you can share the stories so that you can walk alongside other women. So I get a bit on my soapbox about that stuff.
And I know you're a big fan of Brené Brown, who talks about this stuff all the time, about being vulnerable and sharing that. And it's one of the things I like about good podcasts is when you listen to good podcasts, you actually hear some of the real truth about what goes on in business. I've heard podcasts with, people
that's
like,
essential.
People like Lisa Messenger, who, when you look at what she's done with the collective, and I've heard her on a podcast where she says, there's some months that I struggle to pay the rent, and I have to do contras with photographers because I can't afford to pay them because I don't have the cash flow and things like that. And like, when I hear, people like that, people who we kind of put as being successful, with that they're struggling as well, then you go, oh, hang on, we're all the same. We all have the same fears. We're all worried about money, whether or not we can pay this and whatever. And the amount of success you have doesn't necessarily mean you've got more cash. Sometimes it can mean less because you've actually got a bigger business and you've got salaries and all of that. And you know that because you've had a business where you used to have staff and all of that. It's like, on the outside, it looks really successful, but on the inside, you're going, okay, well, now I've got to pay their wage and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. How the hell am I going to make it all work? And when you get some of that truth in podcasts, that's why I enjoy listening to good podcasts, and yours is one of them, because you bring out those truths and then we can go, hang on, well, we're all the same.
And that's really, and I appreciate that feedback, because that's very much what that's one of the goals of the Next Chapter podcast, your Next Chapter podcast, is to inspire and inform, to tell the true stories, to get behind the curtain and to get strategies, but also get the stories. And you're making me remember, now I talked about how defining success on your terms. So just to backtrack a little to previous chapters, because I think this is important, and this happens to a lot of us women, is that we often had corporate roles where we're high achievers. We did well. We had good careers. And then we take the skills, these are the sort of the evolution that I see. We often take the skills that we had in corporate land and we turn them into a business. I did events and marketing and sponsorships for News Limited. So what was my first proper business that I was doing? I was a freelance marketing consultant. Well, of course, there's a logical transfer of skills. And then that business started to grow. So I got an employee, and then it grew, and then I got serviced offices, and then it grew. So I bought an office in Chatswood, and I had full-time staff, and ticking all the boxes, clients in 3 states, the multiple 6-figure turnover, all of that. There's all the outside. The inside story, stress to the frickin' max, kids and after school care and before school care, and yes, profitability, because you've got to talk, it's not just turnover, it's profitability as well, was squeezed because of all the expenses, and I hit burnout and decided to make a change, and I'm actually far happier, far more relaxed, and far more profitable now than I ever was in that chapter, because I got real about what was important to me, what was going on, and a different way of being in business. And the old me, if I go further back, the embarrassment and the shame, like you couldn't cut the mustard, you had to stop that. No, this is an empowered decision to do something that is much better for me, therefore better for my family, therefore better for my clients. So it's hearing those stories, and that's the tip of the iceberg. It's hearing those stories that helps open a door for another woman to walk through into a new possibility. That's what the podcast is about. That's what I'm about, is opening those doors. And then once you're through the door, I can show you how to build a business. That part's easy, but you've got to believe you can. Yeah. And you've got to decide what is it that you want. And then we can help make that happen. But yeah, there's a lot of skin knees in my background, that is for sure.
and the so-called failure is not really a failure. As you said, it's an informed decision, and it doesn't really matter, because I went the same thing when I closed down my large clinic, and then I went to a smaller clinic, and then I closed that down and went to online. And it took me to actually close down the physical clinic, took me nearly 2 years. Like I did it 2 years too late, but it was all about how is it going to look to the outside world? People will think I failed if I close the bricks and mortar. When in fact, it wasn't a failure. All it was is I had shifted, my priorities had shifted. I no longer wanted to be doing so much one-on-one work. I more wanted to speak and do group work, which meant it was no point paying rent on a physical property if I could deliver everything online. But it was just all in there. Well, then people are going to think I'm a failure. They're going to think I'm a fraud. They're all these things.
Yeah, and that's why the community, having people around you who can, when you're getting those wobbles, who can go, hey, Ange, but this is a new chapter. This is the thing that you have evolved into. This is the next step. So we learn so much from what's happened in the past. And so there is no shame. There is no embarrassment. There is no judgment. It's like that was that chapter. Now I've got different priorities and I'm continuing to move.
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago where I am today in terms of the business model and the contentment that I have. In another 5 years, will I be doing exactly the same thing? I think there'll be similarities, but I'm not going to predict. Like I expect I'm going to keep evolving again and again. I'm going to have another chapter and another chapter. And I'm always going to keep community around me that helps me when I wobble, because I know I wobble.
Isn't that the joy of having your own business, is that you can change your mind anytime you like?
Absolutely.
And that's why I like what I'm doing now with the Maga Woman project. I've got a big vision for it. It is there. But at the moment I'm playing. I've got a magazine. I enjoy putting a magazine out every month. So I'll continue to do that while I'm having fun. You know, I love doing these interviews for the, Maga Woman TV because I'm having fun. As soon as it starts to get hard, and I was actually talking to someone earlier about building a Maga Woman website. Now, I have all the skills and the technical knowledge to do that, but it's not fun for me. And so I'm talking to someone else about just doing that because it wouldn't be fun. I said, well, you may as well do it if I'm not going to do it, because I'm not going to take time away from a magazine that I'm enjoy doing just to build a website. It's like, no, I can give it to you to do, and you do what you do really well and you're having fun with. I'll do what I'm doing really well and I'm having fun with. And then at the end of the day, I still get what I want. Yes, I have to pay him to do that, but it's okay because I'll get more income coming in from what I'm enjoying doing, rather than busting my ass to do something just so I can get enough money to pay him. It's like when I relax, the money just flows in and then it flows back out again. And everyone's doing what they do well.
Well, that's very much about having the wisdom and awareness of being in your zone of genius. This is the stuff that I love doing, because I know that when you are really enthused, enthusiasm is currency. Okay? So you're energized and enthused about what you're doing, and you are also creating opportunities for other people when you do some outsourcing. Now, at the beginning of our businesses, we can't outsource a lot. We're really watching the pennies, but I believe we can all get to a certain stage where we can outsource a little bit, exactly as you described, that then frees us up to do more of the stuff that we love, that we're good at, that brings in the cash. I've got several people who help me in my business now. That wasn't at the beginning, but I could not do what I do without that support now. It's really important for me to stay in my zone and for me to outsource those other little pieces. And that again, that's an evolution. That's an evolution of trust that this is going to work out. It's an evolution of awareness as to what I am really not good at, i.e. if I ever did my bookkeeping, that's gone, that's way gone. And there's other things as well. Look, I can play with the back end of a website, but I prefer to have the fellow who helps me with that, because he is just in his zone of genius.
That's
he's
right.
playing with the back end of a website. So yeah.
And then if we go woo-woo, if we trust the universe, and I know that you do this, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to give this to the universe to do. I have, actually, I don't know if I learned this from you or from someone else. It's like I have my to-do list. I break down to what I have to do and what I give to the universe. And I do my stuff, and when I finish doing my stuff, I go and get something back from the universe if it hasn't happened, and then I do it. But if I give it to the universe will generally look after it most of the time, and I don't have to look after it anymore.
Isn't that's the concept? So the concept to me there is the letting go.
Yeah.
It's the letting go of how things should look. It's the letting go of your expectations about how it's going to turn out. So I still work hard. I still have goals and dreams, etc. But I've become far less prescriptive about what it's got to look like.
Yes.
And where the income's got to come from. I've got 3 distinct income streams, but there is, things come left of center. You just got to keep doing. I love this. I heard the definition of God the other day. However you look at God, whether it be, universal energy, deity, whatever. But God is good, orderly direction. So it's like, just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing and let go.
Yeah.
I got to let go a lot.
So do I, because I've always been a control freak. And I'm very much a how learner. I was like, I've got to know how it works. And that's been hard for me to give up on the how and just accept that whatever is meant to happen will happen. And all I need to do is focus on what I need to do. And it's having a partnership with the universe. And both of us have a mutual friend.
That's a great way of looking at it. You're in partnership.
That's right. And that's Karen Smith, who's a mutual friend of mine who was my coach. And that's what she says. For quite a few times, she was looking for partners and in her business, and it wasn't working out. Yeah. And then she realized what she needed to partner with the universe. And when she partnered with the universe and allowed the universe to do, because she couldn't control the universe, when she allowed the universe to do its job, that the work just flowed in, and she then just does the stuff that she does really well, and it all just comes. But when she was trying to get another a business partner, it wasn't working. For various reasons, it just wasn't working because she was still trying to control too much and whatever reasons. But now she says, I just partner with the universe, and it's the best partner I've ever had.
I like that.
So yes,
bring your universal co-director to the board meetings. That one's tricky. Just leaving that seat empty because that's there.
Right. And that's right. But the thing is, when you do have them, when you trust that the universe, this is it, it's the trust. It's hard, for women who've been really, particularly A types, high achievers, and who basically felt like they had to be in control of everything, because if you're not in control of everything, it's all going to go wrong. It's just allowing it to happen and just trusting that it will happen. But I also do think that when you get to a certain stage of life, there's almost I'm just going to give up right now. I'm just going to go hands off for a bit. And I think that when you do that, that's when you open up to the possibilities and you're open to receiving. Before then, you're not quite so, you think you've got to make it happen.
Well, I think what we're learning there is it's that things unfold in a timeline. They just do. Things happen in the way they're meant to. We don't sit back and do nothing. Obviously, we're taking action, but it is that trust that things are unfolding as they should. And I often have looked back, stopped and looked back with what I call the benefit of hindsight, looking back and understanding the connections and gone, I never could have predicted that step would lead to that step would lead to that step. Okay. It doesn't mean that I'm passive, by no means passive. I'm a very active action taker. That's my style. But I do tend to trust my intuition a lot more these days.
Yeah.
It's funny when I'm working with clients and ideas literally drop. I can see like existing businesses I work with best of all, and I can see the pieces that are missing, and these ideas will drop in. And I used to think, well, that's just because you've got a lot of marketing experience. But now I understand, yes, that plays a part, but it's because I'm listening to my intuition. Like I'll get these strong feelings of this could really be helpful. And instead of thinking about whether or not I'm going to say it, I could say it these days. And so many times the woman goes, or the person I'm working with goes, oh my God, that's incredible. You won't believe that just last week I was thinking about it. It just happens too often for it to be coincidental.
Same thing happens with me now. I have the same thing. And I was the same as and I'm not going to say that. I don't know where that idea came from. And then I just went, okay, well, let's just say it. Let's just see it. And then all of a sudden they go,
and let's see what happens.
Oh, right. I get it. It's like, and it's almost like you're seeing into the future, but you don't know where it comes from. And so I use that in my business now. It's like, I quite often will go to bed if I'm not sure of what the next step is, or I'm a bit stuck on something. I go to bed and I say, well, okay, fine. If there's something I need to know, bring it to me. And unfortunately, sometimes I'll bring it to me in my dream, and then I can't, because then my brain gets activated. I get in my dream and then, oh yeah, that's it. It's going to go. So I don't get a lot of sleep. But my answer comes. My answer does come. It always comes.
I like it.
So I want to thank you for being part of this. And I think, because lots of women who are part of the Maga Women Project do have businesses, or they're thinking about businesses, or being in business. So I think you've given lots of insights today, and particularly the fabulous file. Anybody can do that, and I recommend you go and do that straight away. We're going to put all of your links with this video, and of course this video is in the magazine, so people who are reading the magazine might actually be watching it from the magazine. And Angela has written articles for 2 magazines, so 2 issues. So you're going to learn so much more from Angela, and all her links are there. Go and join her Facebook group, listen to her podcast, because her podcast is absolutely fantastic. She has some great guests on it, and she asks the questions that no one else asks. So, you really get deep there. And so, I want to thank you for really being open to sharing your knowledge. You'll learn a lot more from Angela, because she will be part of this community going forward, guaranteed, because she's got so much. She's a great Maga woman, and she's open to sharing, and she's just got so much knowledge and so much experience. So thanks for joining us, Angela. And
you're really welcome. Thank you for the conversation.
And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll be back again with another episode soon. Bye for now. Infinite love and gratitude. Bye.